Someone on one of the forums asked me about this filter. This is a filter, I think, from a later style CJ5. It has a single inlet and two outlets. The top one here is a little smaller than the bottom one, and it's for a return line. So the fuel comes up from the fuel pump into this filter. The biggest outlet goes into the carburetor. The smallest outlet goes into this other fuel line, which we've run through the firewall here, down along here. I should tie this up better, but I haven't. And then into the fuel tank right here. We did this conversion in a campground, and the way that we got this hole drilled for this fitting was take the sender out, take the seat off, then take the sender out, and then one of the guys held a plastic spoon with grease in it underneath where we were drilling the hole, and drilled down the hole down through there to try and not get any chips into the fuel. And we put that on there. The idea of this is that any fuel that you're not using in the carburetor gets recircled back to the fuel tank, like modern vehicles with fuel injection and that. And the reason we did this was to try and help with the vapor locking problem. And I think it helps some. I have some other little things that I've done, like I have heat sink fins, aluminum heat sink fins underneath the carburetor. But what I really found after a lot of different efforts to try and solve that problem was that my fuel was boiling inside the carburetor, and I ended up taking the whole manifold off, and this manifold had a casting problem, so that when the heat riser closed, it wasn't really closed. It still had a gap between the flap and the edge of the heat riser that was still letting a lot of hot exhaust up underneath the carburetor. So when that happened, the fuel would boil in the carburetor. And so what I ended up doing was just taking the manifold off and doing a block off of the heat riser. So I don't really have a heat riser anymore, which I haven't seemed to have a problem because of it. And that kind of cured my problems for the most part of my vapor locking and fuel boiling in the carburetor. This is the AutoZone Duralast part number FF3420DL. You can probably cross that at any other auto parts store into their local brand, or you can probably get Fram or whatever.